Well, thank you, Derick, for joining us once again. Now, we're going to be doing a fully scored first now. We're going to be doing an analysis, but of a euphonium solo.
Right.
And this solo was specifically written for yourself by Norman Bearcroft, and it is, of course, The Better World. So, can we talk about the history of it? Where did this piece come about? What was the initial spark that growthed into The Better World?
Well, The Better World was written for an occasion, as were many solos. It was written for a 1978 International Congress. And the year before had been a Silver Jubilee concert at the Royal Albert Hall, and I had played The Conqueror at that piece. And Norman said to me, he said, I'd like to feature you during the International Congress next year. I said, okay. He said, what are you going to play kind of thing? I said, well, I don't know, I'll have a look. He said, well, I'm asking that because maybe we'll come up with something new. I said, what? You mean you're going to write something? He said, yeah, no, I want to do a new one. I said, okay. So that was the initial spark for The Better World. So we knew the occasion, we knew it was the Congress, we knew it was a big international audience, we knew it was a staff band, we knew there was 2 other staff bands there, we knew it was going to be a full Albert Hall. So I went down to his house at that time, just outside Bournemouth, where he lived, and we started talking about his ideas. He spoke about The Better World, told me about the tunes, because he wrote, in a lot of his music, he speaks of things, he speaks about the better world in other pieces, in his thematic material. He said, yeah, I've got an idea, because he liked using old, if you like, army songs. He said, so I've got this tune, There Is a Better World. I said, okay. So we played it, we tried it in 1 or 2 different keys. And originally, he was going with an A major key. But then he said, no, I'm really fond of A flat. And he writes in A flat a lot, especially with slower stuff. He likes writing in A flat. Much warmer. Sounds interesting, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
And that's why that was a change that was made fairly early on, from that A major brightness to the much more roundness of the A flat major key. And then we looked at some cadenza material. He said, I'll just play me some things, So I played some stuff. And he said, okay, we'll shape that into a cadenza. And it kind of went like that. And we looked at the ending. He said, it'll be a fuzzy ending, big finish, crowd, And the middle movement, though, he said, I'm not sure, I've got 1 or 2 ideas. He firstly spoke about the Calvary track, which was his male voice arrangement of I Know Thee Who Thou Art, which was very popular at the time with bands, and I think published later for songsters. And then he said, no, I'm not sure. And then he came up with this one, Heavenly Mansions, for the Moon and Movement. Lovely tune. He said, there is a little Albert Hall link. He said it was performed as a male voice song way back by the German staff band on a visit to London. And they sang this song because of the tune is known in Germany. And they sang this song, Heavenly Mansions, There's a Home Laid Up in Glory. He said, so I'm going to use that. And I didn't know the tune at the time, so he played the tune for me and we played around with it. So that was the beginnings of the actual writing of The Better World.
Fantastic. So we're going to talk about a little bit more about the piece and perhaps some ideas as a soloist looking at this you might be aware of, and you can demonstrate some little bits as well, your interpretation. So be a good place to start at the beginning, wouldn't it? And a very challenging introduction straight into the action, whizzing up to a top E flat within bars.
Yeah, straight in. And, your fourth bar, you've got that top E flat to deal with. In a typical Bearcroft fashion. But one that grabbed the listener straight away. A very short introduction to the band, 2 bars. And then you phone him, you're in.
No time to get nervous.
No, not the Mozart 48 bars before the clarinet comes in or whatever. But he went straight in, 2 bars and you're in, and then into the tune. A really bright tune that can be treated a couple of ways. And over the years I've probably played it maybe slightly different. I've played it more in a detached style, and I've played it in a maybe slightly more singing cantabile style. The good thing about it is either's fine, in my opinion. And that's in a very cantabile style, but suits the solo. But you could also put a slightly pointed approach. I probably used to play I quite like the cantabile version. It gives fuller sounds and I like that for the melody. You've got some interesting band work going on here as well. This cascading cornet thing at Let It Be is a challenge for bands. That's harder than it looks. These descending triplets behind the soloist is a challenging thing. And then he takes us into our first variation. And again, it's typical Bearcroft treatment. Again, you get the high E flats, get the high Ds, plenty of them, plenty going on. Leading into an early cadenza, which isn't an unusual Bearcroft thing. If I'm right, he also put an early cadenza in Song of Exaltation as an early cadenza, whereas a lot of composers put a late cadenza. Eric Lysden, most of his cadenzas, some early on, but most of it later on. But Bearcroft liked that early, showy soloist cadenza. And there's certainly plenty to do and plenty to work at. And then a little reprise of the variation to end that first section.
And are there any things that, for a performer playing this solo, would facilitate with learning some of the intricacies technically that you'd recommend?
Yeah, the opening is one. The variation demands one or two little things. You've got the semi-quiver patterns. You got the little triple tonguing thing. There's not a lot of triple tonguing written for euphonium solos. In fact, I've changed a couple over the years to adapt a first variation triplet section into a triple tonguing section. For example, Norman Bearcroft's Harbour Light. I ended up playing with that band as a triple tonguing section. One, we didn't have any. It's a little bit in We'll All Shout Hallelujah, but not many whole variations for triple tonguing. So I've created my own along the way. High register is always a thing for Norman Bearcroft, whether you're playing his band work or solo work, and the same with this. And we can hopefully demonstrate that. That's what you need for the solo. To play these, you need to know you've got a high register available to you. Some little runs to sort out, and some clarity to get in some of the bars. So technical, but not over technical for the players that should be playing Better World.
So the cadenza at section F
Yeah, a few technical aspects to deal with. You've got the beginning. Then we go into this sequence, run of semiquavers, that happens 12 times on an accelerando. Okay, so you've got to negotiate that run of semiquavers with for me, for a change of alternate fingers. So I start off with a G on open, and then I change it to 1 and 3 for the faster bit. Okay, then there's a bit on the cadenza that's marked rapidamente, so get quicker. It's probably a bit that I've never really played it all rapid. I tend to play it a bit slower. It's rapid enough, but I don't go straight through it. And I would do it that way for clarity.
So then we get to the next section, as you mentioned earlier, the melody Heavenly Mansions I. What are some of the considerations, again, as a performer that you would take with this melody?
Expression and phrasing, and just find the beauty in the tune. And there's one change. I think I may have done it for one recording, but on the copy, and probably the proper tune, I've normally not played the dotted rhythm the second time. It's just one of these little differences that happens that you wouldn't notice unless you're reading the music. And I do that on 2 or 3 occasions through this movement. I take the dot away and play 2 quavers. But my decision, that was, not composers. But I think that's part of a soloist. I think, I'm not disturbing the music in any way. I'm not changing it in any great detail. It's just the way I saw it and played it.
So then section J, you turn into more of a counter melody, soaring around from the lows and the high, extreme to range on the euphonium. Well, perhaps maybe not that extreme, but again, what would you be looking for when performing this section?
Yeah, nice connection between your notes. A lovely connection right through these moving arpeggios, and so it's still beautiful. And you're not hearing the gaps. You're connecting it all up. Moving on to this next section of K, which I used to love playing this section. F, which again is not in the copy, but you've got to find a bit of heart in this music. And some people would probably be disappointed if I didn't make that note longer now over the years hearing it.
2 bars longer.
One person did ask me about it once. I said, are you going to extend that note on that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's interesting. People do notice these things.
Yeah.
Interesting what people notice. They don't say, it's a lovely solo. They think, are you going to play that long semiquaver? In the better world, I said, well, yes, I guess I better.
Got to keep the fans happy. So, once again, we come out of that into some more, fast and intricate music at section M, and then even more fast and intricate at section N.
Yeah, over the years playing with Snap Band, M and N became very much more or less the same thing. On the copy, 138 to 160. I think eventually that didn't happen, we just played the piece. When I used to practice this, I used to practice it like this, let it in. I can hear every note. Okay, and it's an interesting way to practice and not just play the. What it does, it develops your sense of moving from one note to another, hearing what you're playing, and that just whizzes on right through towards the end of the piece. We get a restatement of a bit of the tune at letter Q, and just that little fragment for euphonium, but it's quite exciting. Again, quite pointy on that one, but then maybe with the next phrase. So you get nice contrast between two phrases. You don't have to play every phrase the same. Right on the very end, you've got the option of the top E flat or the C. You're not really going to play the C, really. I guess most of my earlier performances did finish on the C, going up to the E flat. I think I might have a recorded version where I go straight on. Yeah, I think maybe later recordings I go straight up to that E flat. So there's different little decisions to make and some technical stuff to sort out, but a great solo, exciting. And for the player, everything in it, cadenza, variation, melody, for the listener the same, exciting. You know, it's got every bit of stuff that you'd want to hear in the solo. Absolutely. Just fantastic. But and plenty for the solos to sort out. There's still technical challenges. Most on that run down at the end. Bad tempo.
That's how it's done.
That's what you're aiming for.
Fantastic. Masterfully played as well. Really is lovely to hear you playing. Well, once again, terrific.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you very much for that sort of little insight into the piece.
No, it's been a pleasure.
How it came about, and for your lovely excerpts as well. Very nice.
Thank you.